I remember learning English back home in Iran. I was so proud of my progress. I felt I was doing something new and exciting. Then we moved to Canada. And suddenly I was surrounded by native speakers. And honestly, I felt lost. Keeping up with a conversation, trying to understand them, then finding the right word to say. I remember after 1 hour of talking, I was so tired. Not physically, my brain was exhausted. But gradually, over time, it got better. The weight wasn't that heavy anymore. Have you ever felt that? Or felt like you're slightly different person depending on what language you're speaking? That's not random. That's your brain at work. Here's what most people don't realize. Bilingual brains don't turn off one language. Both languages are active at the same time. So every time you speak, your brain has to choose the right word, suppress the other language, and switch instantly if needed. And research shows this constant switching physically changes your brain. Learning a second language increases gray matter density. The brain tissue actually gets denser. Bilinguals also have a stronger white matter connections, which is the wiring between brain regions. Better wiring, faster communication inside your brain. So every time you pause to find the right word, every time you translate in your head, your brain isn't struggling. It's building something. You're not slow, you're building something most people don't have. But here's where it gets really interesting. I used to wonder, why do I sometimes use a Persian word in middle of an English sentence without even noticing? Like my brain just picks the wrong language and I don't even catch it. That's because language isn't just words. It carries emotion, culture, identity. And researchers found something fascinating about this. They gave people decision-making tasks, same task, but half did it in their native language and half in their second language. When people thought in their second language, they made more rational decisions, less influenced by fear, less pulled by emotion. Why? Because your second language creates emotional distance. If someone insults you in your first language, you feel it in your body. But the same words in your second language don't hit the same way. Researchers measured this. They tracked physical stress responses, heart rate. Emotional words triggered a significantly stronger reaction in people's native language. Many bilingual people notice this. They feel different depending on the language they choose. More emotional in one, more logical in another. So it's not that you care less in your second language, your brain just gives you a bit of distance. And that distance is a tool. When you switch languages, you're not just translating. You're shifting perspectives, adapting, reconstructing how you express yourself in that moment. And that builds something most people never develop: mental flexibility. Think about it. Two voices in your head, both trying to speak, and your brain has to decide in real time which ones to choose. Now imagine doing that as a child, in a school, at home, in every social situation. That's not just language, that's mental training. And there is one more thing. A study looked at over 200 patients with Alzheimer's disease. Bilingual patients showed symptoms 5 years later than monolingual patients. 5 years. And this was replicated in a larger study with over 600 patients. Same result. Even for people who never went to school. Education wasn't the factor, language was. Now I want to be honest, this doesn't mean bilingualism prevents dementia, but what it seems to do is build something called cognitive reserve. Extra connections, extra pathways, like a backup system. So when something starts to break down, your brain has more to work with. Think of it like a savings account. Every time you use your second language, you're making a small deposit. You won't notice it day to day, but decades from now, it's there. So, how do you actually use this? First, when you're too emotional about something, switch to your second language on purpose. Had a fight, feeling anxious about the decision, try writing it down or thinking it through in English or any other languages you learn as your second language. That emotional distance is not a bug, it's a feature. Use it when you need clarity. The second way, when you need to feel something deeply, use your first language. If you're journaling, praying, or trying to connect with how you really feel, your first language will get you there faster. It hits deeper. That's knowing which tool to reach for. Third, stop apologizing for the pause. I used to say, sorry, I'm not good at English, all the time. And every time I said it, it gave me a bad feeling, like I was announcing my weakness. Then I decided to do something differently. I figured out that pause is not my weakness, it's my evidence. So instead of apologizing, try just pause. Or saying, let me think about how to say this. Same space, but without the apology. So if you ever struggled with mixing languages or felt like your brain was slower because you had to switch, it's actually the opposite. Your brain isn't confused, it's trained. You're not behind, you're not less, you're doing something your brain was never designed to do easily. And that's making you stronger. Because being bilingual doesn't just change how you speak, it changes how you think. This is episode 1 of Between Words, a series about the hidden psychology of living between languages and cultures. If this is the first time someone told you your second language is a superpower, not a weakness, subscribe. There is more where this came from. And tell me in the comments, what languages do you think in? What's your native language? I'm genuinely curious. See you in the next episode.